Hi everyone, this is Himanshu Sehgal. I'm the CEO co-founder of Pharma Shots. You have met me multiple times. So I'm here with yet again another edition or another video with one of the speakers, presenters at Reuters Pharma Barcelona event. And this is a pre-conference discussion. So I am with one of the, a person who is going to be at the multiple places at Reuters Pharma event. So let me introduce Nazneen Rahman to you. Nazneen Rahman is non-executive director at one of the very leading pharma company, and also she's a co-founder and a CEO of UMaker, which is a breakthrough company, and obviously we'll talk about the company for sure and the work what Nazneen and the company is doing. So yeah, I'm here to talk about what multiple roles she is going to play. So to tell you all, Nazneen is going to be a keynote speaker. She is going to be at the panel discussion, and UMaker also has a booth at Reuters Pharma Barcelona. So yeah, please check out the booth, talk to Nazneen and her executives, and please do listen to her keynote topic and also the panel discussion. So welcome Nazneen for this pre-conference glimpse discussion. Thank you for taking our time to talk to us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
So Nazneen, my first question is, let's jump directly to the UMaker. Very interesting concept. I've gone through the company website. Can you tell us, educate us what UMaker is basically?
Yes, so I'll give you a little bit of my background, then you'll understand why I set up UMaker. So I'm a doctor and a scientist by background, and I spent about 25 years in genomics, taking genomics data and making it really practical and as useful as possible for patients and clinicians. And I found that I really like that. I like being at the cutting edge of science, taking new knowledge, but making it as useful as possible. And sort of during COVID, really, I had, as many of us did, had time to think, and one of the things I really started thinking about was around sort of sustainability in its broadest sense, trying to make healthcare good for people, good for planet, good for business. And it felt like this decade could be a time when we could really make some movement on that. And so that's why I set up UMaker, and UMaker is a purpose-driven organization, stands for sort of you make the difference. And our central ambition is this about making healthcare more sustainable, but we've really focused on medicines, in part because I'm a non-executive director at a big pharma. So I sort of, unusually perhaps for a doctor and a scientist, I really know about making medicines and the logistics of them. And I could see many opportunities for that win-win-win, good for people, good for planet, good for profit. So that was the genesis of UMaker, and we make science-based scalable solutions to try to make medicines in particular more sustainable.
Awesome. So thank you for that introduction. Now I read you also mentioned this the sustainability partnership. So what do you exactly mean by sustainability partnership?
So we really do sort of three things at UMaker. We do concepts and thought leadership to drive the sort of new culture of sustainability. Then we do partnerships to be able to drive that change, to be sustainable. It's a system play, it's an ecosystem play. So you have to get people around the table. And then we make products, particularly sort of data science type products, to actually deliver on the action of it. So central to that was this partnership. So the Sustainable Medicines Partnership is an action collaborative of 48 organizations across the ecosystem, from the manufacturers right down to the sort of deliverers of medicines, with tech, with distributors, the people in that part of the supply chain that need to work together to make medicines, to reduce the waste of medicines and the waste from medicines. And this concept of waste, I think, was really central to what we wanted to do. Everybody knows that billions of medicines are made but never used every year for all sorts of reasons, and we need to get a better balance. And I think sustainability at its heart is about balance. We must make sure we've got enough medicines so we don't run out, but we want to make sure those medicines are in the right place, and so we don't end up sort of throwing them away inadvertently. So that was the sort of central concept around it, and that's what the partnership and the Action Collaborative has been around. And we've been running a 4-year program to build do pilot projects to build scalable solutions around 4 real axes, sort of digital, metrics, reduction, and sharing our outputs.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I see a lot of it's a challenging work because you mentioned multiple type of organization being as collaborative with each other. On your website you mentioned collaborative framework, and then I've read this. You're collaborating with manufacturers, NGOs, government bodies, and then global health organizations. So it's a bunch of multiple different people with different structures in place. Big pharmas have different structures, small have different. And then working nature is completely different. Pharmas and small pharmas are high pace, big pharmas are smaller. The speed of work is slightly slower, whereas government bodies are way too slower and all that. So again, I have mentioned few challenges, but what is your point of view, that what are those challenges when these all organizations come at one place? What is the challenge what you have faced?
Yes, so I think that as you've articulated, because of that diversity, there are sort of different types of challenges because people are working in different kinds of ways. So the way that we sort of cut through that was to have a really focused project that everyone can come around and can bring their different types of viewpoints and needs and opportunities around that. But there's a real focus, and as I say, we have really hard timelines around it. So, for example, digital inclusivity, one of these aspects around, one of the things we've been working with many others around is being able to have that information available in the way that people need it. And so for the manufacturers, they're responding a lot to the sort of regulatory aspects, but there are plenty of opportunities of ensuring that access is as patients want it. So currently you can't read barcodes and pick up the patient information leaflet as you can with a QR code. So we've worked with GS1 and Google to be able to use the Google lens to start to pick that up. Now, that's not just relevant for medicines, it's actually relevant for a lot of packaging. And in many of the things we were doing, they make sense, but you need to have a focus that makes there's a win-win for everyone. So here, this is good for patients, of course. They can access the information in the language they need it, in the format they need it directly from the box. But it's also good for the manufacturers because it can often reduce costs. It reduces waste because we throw away millions of medicines, not because there's anything wrong with the medicine, but because they've got the wrong leaflet inside them that most of the time people are not reading. And it's good also for profitability as well, and it reduces carbon emissions. So what we've done really is to highlight these win-win opportunities and bring the people around them as a way of driving a culture of sustainability, so that sustainability doesn't feel like, oh, something else I've got to do, but I can't because I've got all these other things. It's not competing. It's a means of being able to drive change. And those are the sort of exemplar things that we've been able to do. But it's really been about action-focused projects. So often people think sustainability is about targets and seems removed from the action. So we are an action collaborative and everything we do is targeted on that. So it's really about the design phase and being able to get people on board. And again, waste, everybody hates waste, doesn't matter. And everybody has waste. So if you can find things that people can get behind and they want to address, then that's really been our philosophy.
This is definitely unique, and obviously, from the looks of it, I found it very interesting. But after talking to you, it's really very interesting because a lot of big pharma companies, I have been associated with Novartis before starting Pharma Shots, and I have seen this, that a lot of companies talk about sustainability in ESG basically, but this is an area which is kind of still till now it has been like underrated or not looked upon, reducing the waste basically. So that's something which has not been looked upon, or reducing the waste of medicine. And I've really feel that this is a very good and a unique concept. Okay, so would you like to tell us a little more about any example? Obviously, you have given one example. Any other example you would like to mention about the U makers' other approaches which you have done?
Yeah, so the sort of key project that we ourselves have taken forward at UMaker, and we're scientists and we're particularly data scientists, is around measuring carbon footprints. So the carbon emissions of medicines are a really huge contribution to healthcare's emissions. About 25% of the NHS's emissions, for example, are based in medicines. But apart from a few medicines, we really can't measure that in any kind of granular way. So it makes it very difficult to move forward on it. So together with the CTO at UMaker, Haroon Taylor, who will also be at Pharma Reuters, what we decided to do was to build an AI-driven model that could predict the emissions of the carbon footprints of medicines at a product level. So what was attractive to us here as a sort of scientific problem is that unlike many products, we do actually know the molecular structure of a medicine. That's known. And there's been wonderful work being done in sort of green chemistry and drug development to optimize that. And here is one of those win-wins. Generally, if you make a medicine more cost effective, you reduce the steps, and that also makes it more carbon effective. So the sort of green and the commercial can run alongside there. So what we did is that we took those existing models, put them into a framework that have been doing with new drug development, and then applied it to the existing medicines. And most of the medicines we use, well over 90% of the medicines we use, we've been using them for the last 30 years, and we'll use them for the next 30 years. There are common medicines that are made by our generic companies. And here, we need to make sure that we're allowing people to be sustainable and move forward in a way that makes sense commercially as well. And it's high volume, low margins. So we wanted to be able to make a tool and software that would allow people to have those medicine carbon emissions, those product emissions in an AI-driven way. Now that unlocks all sorts of different things, and we'd be delighted to talk to you about it. But for example, there are all sorts of legislations that are coming on board saying we need the product carbon footprints, and so it allows you to be able to deliver on that. You can now look at your emissions based on the actual product rather than how much you spend on them, which is how you typically do it, and therefore identify and prioritize your high carbon emitting products based on that, or your suppliers. Or actually, people are very inventive. People have started to ask us to say, oh, okay, so this particular product that actually has a lower carbon footprint than maybe our competitor products, and maybe that can be a commercial advantage for us. And that could be not just about the product itself, but potentially how it's used, how many times a day it's used, what the regimen is for that. So we kind of love that because it allows us to provide data, and then for the community at large to think about how can that be used commercially or environmentally or reporting. And by making this data available to people, we've seen all sorts of new ways of which, as I say, people are bringing in sustainability into the core of how they're operating. And so instead of it being something extra, we have sustainable business just because it's the best way to do business. So I think that that data tool we've been particularly excited about.
Awesome. This is really very exciting, and thank you so much for your time. I actually have millions of questions, but I don't want to take up much of your time. And obviously, I'm waiting to see your presentation there and learn more from it. So thank you so much for your time and talking to us, and then giving a glimpse of what UMaker is doing and what you're going to talk about at Reuters Pharma Barcelona. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.